Okay, here we go with this one. Hello to anybody, probably zero who were waiting around, but in case anybody is here already, hello. Otherwise, hello to everyone who's watching this after the fact. You can probably skip the first 2 minutes, I would guess two, but I wouldn't pin that down exactly. Why is it formatted like this now? I really don't like this. So desperate to make everything look futuristic by adding this weird space in between and making the corners curved now. Like the purpose of curves is to put on vehicles so that they have better aerodynamics. It doesn't change anything about internet like browser windows. Okay, make sure these are connected. Okay, both those are synced. And since it works out much better than Google Earth, it does not lag us out like Google Earth does. We're going to stick with using the bathymetry site. So this here, this alternative to Google Earth, that's not what it's made for, but that's what we use it for, is the bathymetric data viewer from the U.S. administration NOAA, or one of their sub-departments. And it's primarily a ocean depth and terrain detail map that will, for those interested, will give you a much more ocean floor detail view than like you'll get on looking at the ocean floor on Google Earth, to the point where you can even see different detail levels if you zoom in far enough. You can see where there's like heavy detailed areas versus blurred areas. You can actually tell where seafloor like sonic surveys have been conducted. And in fact, in particular, we look around here, you should be able to spec out, yeah, right around here. See how there's a lot of blur around here, but this big patch here is all very clear. That's because this was the seafloor search area for Air France 447. That's why that area is specifically so clear. And there's a few stripes and patches similar to that down in the South Indian Ocean where we were looking for MH370, the new search for which has just started, has finally agreed to fund some additional searching. Should have happened sooner, but it is happening now at least. All right, so we got this. We get Twitter up, just in case I need to use the bookmarks. The bookmarks had been moved to like open. Are they back under here? They're back under the little sub menu again. Okay. I guess Elon can't make up his mind about what he wants the website to look like. Maybe he should stop doing uh no, he doesn't do Adderall. Trump's the one who does Adderall. What does Elon do? DMT. Yeah, I forgot. He does DMT with Joe Rogan or whatever. That's Joe Rogan's thing, is to brag about how he sees and talks to extra dimensional beings when he does drugs. It's Josh. We got a Josh. Oh, Josh is the only one here, actually. Oh no, never mind. No, not anymore. But I was gonna say, I thought I gave you guys some lead time. Because I mean I had it up as about to stream for a while. I was supposed to start sooner actually, but I got a little bit sidetracked. So I'll give people one one more minute. 5 minutes and 40 seconds is when we'll start things officially. In the meantime, some random stuff. If I can find it. I think this is the flat version, probably. So this is Mepria. This is character number 3 out of the handful of primary characters from the would-be 2D animated series that I'm writing the screenplay slash script for. That's the writing project I was mentioning. Here's the better version. All the character concept art is being done by my friend Anya in Belarus. And where are the others? Oh, yeah, I forgot. I literally made a folder called Official. So the others, Andem, Andem's wife, Elem, and then Mepria is the cat that you just saw. Those are the only 3 I have thus far. As Anya does have to do actual, like, other artwork stuff to, get decently paid. So she can't be spending all of her time trying to help me with stuff. But that project is slowly progressing. I'm in the middle of writing what would be the screenplay for episode 4. And when I have everything comfortably together enough, I might throw the whole thing collectively as like just a general pitch to maybe Glitch or a few other YouTube indie animation producers just to see if anybody wants it. But otherwise, it's probably just going to be something that floats in non existence forever. But, anyways, that is it for the wait time. Don't start buffering on me. Don't start buffering on me. Okay, you're not actually delaying anything, you're just making the symbol. So, we had a number of things happen. To start with, where's Rostov? There's Rostov. Oops, I forgot to start up Epic Pen. Come on. Come on, Epic Pen. No, I told you to move. Thank you. So, Rostov there, large refinery, and it was hit again by Ukraine. That's the one I used the thumbnail for, which resulted in this massive explosion the other night. So you can see the size of this, and Russia's response. They actually changed their response this time. Normally, with every other night, every time a refinery takes a hit, they insist that they shot all the missiles or all the drones down and there was no damage. This time, since it was this big of a boom, they actually admitted that it was hit. They just phrased it as the refinery took, quote unquote, some damage. So they did actually admit to there being damage this time. They just phrased it as some damage. So that was in Rostov. And down here, okay, that's Pokrovsk, where Kupyansk is northeast of Pokrovsk, I think. I'm probably going to end up humiliating myself, and it's going to end up being like to the southeast or something. But I think it's northeast. I thought Kupyansk was. What am I? Whoa! What are you doing? I thought Kupyansk was big enough to go up on the map, though. After zooming in this much, is it smaller than I thought it was? All right. Well, you're giving me land loading problems anyway, but that's not your job website. You are a ocean floor detail website. Okay, well, we're going to go with my potentially misinformed prior assumption that Kupyansk is northeast of Pokrovsk and not southeast. And so frontline is roughly something like this, really roughly blah, blah, blah. And I think, don't quote me on this, Kupyansk is somewhere in this very broad general area. And Russia had just about reached the city in a like outreach like this, in a like single arm half attempt at a pincer movement. However, that has been undone. Oops, no, wasn't supposed to. Can I go back? Yes. Okay, now back and back and back. Okay, so that was erased. That gain that they made moving to try to encircle the city with a single pincer arm, that took about 6 months to build that up. And Ukraine pushed back out of nowhere, like an RKO from Randy Orton. Uh, we were not expecting that abrupt, like minor counteroffensive, but it worked apparently, and the Russian like outreach there just collapsed. And 6 months of progress trying to take that city was erased over the course of uh, between 2 and 3 days. So very good. Hopefully, see something or other similar things play out elsewhere, but safety's sake, assume it was just a one-time thing for the moment. But humiliating one way or another. And additional oil tanker strikes. So tanker was just struck earlier today by Ukrainian drones in Rostov, and another one was struck at sea somewhere out here in the general area. So that's seven now. Seven, I think, in the last 2 weeks. 7 tankers that have been hit and that are thus now out of commission. And also, let's see, how far down was it? There it is. Okay, so this one I can show because, far as I'm aware, no one dies in this. It was damaged explicitly to the propeller. You can see the top of the sub there. This is the back with the propeller. No one was like walking around on the dock. There were crew members in the sub. They were only injured. Yeah, hold on. Let's back that up. Wait for it. Wait for it. Come on. Reset. Reset. All right. So similar to this sub here. Oops. So you can see waterline, see the sub, you see the conning tower. Here, back the sub, conning tower, and then the sub carries on, waterline. So right there, it was the propeller and obviously some internal parts of the engine and the drive shaft that were damaged in this. This one, Russia did use their usual statement of there was no damage whatsoever. And they even posted a video afterwards claiming to be from the site. And it was a naval officer walking along the pier and pointing out features of the sub. And that was kind of the giveaway because it was like a just like the U.S. DoD does. The Russian Ministry of Defense also does just put out like regular, apart from propaganda stuff, they do just put out like regular information stuff sometimes on their YouTube alternative channel thing. I'm assuming it's just called RuTube or something. And they literally just ripped footage from one of those videos of a Navy guy pointing out, like, this is what a real submarine looks like, and if you're this type of crew member, you do this and this, and if you're like, and this the propeller is inspected by special divers if you want to sign up for that job. And so they just ripped footage from that and put it up saying that it was evidence the sub was undamaged. And it was from the same location. However, it was a video from years ago. And I mean, the other dead giveaway was the fact that on satellite imagery, a huge chunk of the concrete pier itself was just blown away. Yet in this video with the dude, the pier is just completely there and completely intact. And also, the dude was walking around on like a clear day, like a clear sunny day. Yet, this was a cloudy day. So again, with the debunk videos, they're not even really like trying anymore. Almost missed the USSR. USSR. I've made this point before, but the China is the new USSR in that China is really competent and effective in the lies, propaganda, and disinformation stuff that they do, and the psyops that they do. Whereas like the USSR used to be, because the USSR spent 60 years convincing us and the entirety of NATO in the West that they were, completely peer equal in military strength. And then we kind of saw the truth after the Iron Curtain fell. But we actually bought it the entire time because they were that effective at convincing us of it. Modern Russia just can't, that they just can't do it anymore. They can't apparently even come up with like an effective like form of misinfo. It's just like zero effort stuff all around. Let's see. There was the plane that the two pilots that suddenly ejected the two pilots into the roof of the hangar. That was last week. So what else? What am I forgetting from this week? Forgetting something from the. Oh yeah, more power plant hits across regular Russia or Western Russia, where most of the Russian population lives, and effectively the only part of Russia that the Russian government actually cares about. More power plants were struck, and although not yet in the only two places in Russia that Russians themselves and the Russian government actually care about, St. Petersburg and Moscow, blackouts, as they have been for Ukraine since the war began, are now starting to pick up frequency to the point of in the broader Western Russian regions, they're starting to become a relatively common occurrence. And in another way to save on budget, the Russian government has cut off another program of aiding its civilians. So previously, if I'll draw a little beaver drone doing a dive here, front looks like this, then you have the wings that come out like that. All right, there's a beaver drone coming in to dive to make a big explosion. So previously, if you had your property of any kind, whether a business or a home, damaged as a result of Ukrainian drone strikes or missile strikes, the Russian government would compensate you and pay for the repairs. However, now that is no longer the case. That program is being cut off because the Russian because the Russian government can't afford to keep paying for it. Although the official on paper reason given is that there's no more need for it because the Russian air defense system is effectively repelling all enemy incursions. So the drain spiral continues, and was the one other major hit was here in Astrakhan, the natural gas processing plant was struck again. It was struck previously and was under repair, but it was now struck while under repair, likely damaging a fair deal of the repair equipment, possibly killing some of the repair crew. And as I add every time, just because it's not common knowledge to most people, natural gas also has to be refined. People are familiar with oil being refined because we don't use crude oil where we use its end products. So people are, familiar with oil refining because you have to separate it out into like propane and then gasoline and then diesel and jet fuel and etc. People are familiar with that, but because people are most familiar with using natural gas just as natural gas, we're not they're not typically familiar with the fact that natural gas also goes through a refining process or a processing plant. So natural gas is not just pure methane, like people would assume. It's actually a mix of methane, ethane, propane, butane, a number of other things, and gas lifted impurity compounds, non gaseous compounds like sulfurs, phosphoruses, uh, various metals, even. So those all have to be separated out and filtered. And then the different components of the gas itself, the methane, the ethane, propane, butane, etc., then also have to be separated into different streams because if you burned those all together, you would get a very like poppy, different it wouldn't be like a smooth flame burning in, say, a heating furnace. It would be choppy, puffy, randomly explosive. So natural gas also does have to go through a refining and processing process. So just to avoid any confusion when if anyone would like suddenly think, don't you mean an oil refinery was struck? Uh, yes, an oil refinery was struck in Rostov, but a natural gas refinery was also struck in Astrakhan. They are two separate things. You do have to refine natural gas, just not in the same manner or for the same reasons that you have to refine oil. And I think that's it for the Russia and Ukraine stuff. Let me think for a second. Using brain at, I'm trying to get it up to maybe 40% power. I can't remember anything else at the moment. All right, no, I got nothing for the time being. All right, Josh is no longer alone. We got one other person in chat. Message retracted. That's not a good sign. Retracted by the owner or deleted by Josh? Is Josh punishing people? I drink some water. So, here we go. You all know the buildup that's been going on since August. 12 U.S. naval warships consisting of 10 Arleigh Burke destroyers, 2 Ticonderoga-class missile cruisers, 1 supercarrier with 70 to 80 F-18s and F-35s, 1 smaller regular carrier with a mixture of 30 Harriers and Viper attack helicopters, and a number of amphibious assault vessels carrying a few thousand Marines and amphibious landing vehicles, along with other aerial assets, plus some F-35 squadrons and Reaper drones in Puerto Rico, and a number of most likely air defense assets that have been flown into southern Caribbean islands. Uh, no actual disclosure what they were, but C-17 flights have been going in and out of those islands for the last month or two, most likely bringing in air defense assets just in case Venezuela decides to try striking those islands as like as a back off threat or whatever. As the naval vessels have their own air defense, they can defend themselves, but most of the Caribbean islands don't really have militaries, so they would have no means of stopping an airstrike, even from a very weak military like Venezuela. So that was most likely us putting air defense systems on those islands. Now, and we, as you know, for most of October and November, we're striking random drug runner boats, most likely hoping that would provoke a response from Venezuela. And it did a couple times. They flew out with some aged aircraft and did like buzzes or low flyovers close to some of our naval vessels, but they didn't actually do anything. Then last week, U.S. seized an oil tanker and probably again in the hopes that that would provoke a direct response. And now a direct blockade of outbound vessels or oil tankers from Venezuela has begun. Uh, just ordered today or last night, apparently. So that is starting as, again, probably the next step up of hoping to provoke Venezuela into uh, taking the actual first military to military shot. As this is going to happen anyways, but still still kind of locked into the perpetual government habit of at least wanting to get the other side to do the first thing because you can still then pretend it looks better as a presentation. But as I've said a million times, this is happening no matter what, and this was always going to happen. Everyone knew this was coming. Some people even thought it was going to happen decades ago, but uh, oil finds and developments elsewhere, plus choosing Iraq first because Iraq's oil is a lot better quality wise than Venezuela's is. Uh, that led to Venezuela being put off until now, but it was always coming. And as for why the Pentagon is choosing to go for this right now in particular, excuse me, stop highlighting stuff. I didn't ask you to highlight stuff. Why the Pentagon is going for this right now is because, no, over here, is, as I've said before, because this is coming very soon. And Venezuela can be kind of tapped out of the way pretty easily. So the Pentagon wants to get Venezuela done and over with really fast before this starts. Because we are getting directly into this. For one, even though the chances for even China to succeed at something like this, a naval invasion of the scale, is just not. It's just not going to cut it. It. We're still not taking that chance. For one, we're going to still just make sure it fails, but also because as a superpower, once every generation or so, you have to visibly flex and do something rather large. Uh, both both Iraq blitzkriegs, both Gulf Wars, uh, and doing the 2 week floor wipe stuff within a decade of each other, or almost within a decade of each other. Uh, that was that was like one angle, and before that, we were still riding a few decades off of World War II, obviously, and did Vietnam, but Vietnam didn't turn out too well. So ended up having the Iraq opportunity present itself not too long after that. And so went in with that, and then went in with that again. And now the nearest opportunity that we want to get into is this one, as Russia's proven that we kind of don't really need to directly do anything. They've already condemned themselves anyways. But China, we have the feeling that we kind of have to step in just to make sure it fails. And also, this will count as this particular generational flex. And not just us, but as said before, and as they themselves have said, actually, South Korea, Japan, Philippines, although they every few months they will make like a different announcements, sort of pretending to deny that they said the previous announcements, but then they resume saying the previous announcements anyways. Philippines is going to jump in a little bit too, along with the Aussies, because something's wrong with you, Aussies. You guys just love violence. I mean, if you look at like especially the World War II Pacific pictures of like different combatants, and you'll see U.S. troops, you'll see British troops, Japanese troops, Indian troops, Chinese troops, and they're all making like different kind of faces, like they're focused. Some of them look scared. Some of them look like they've turned into statues and are just purely in the moment. And then you got pictures of Aussies like stepping up out of cover, like ready to fire a gun, and they're making like the psycho happy Steve Irwin smile. So if you're in case you're wondering, that's the reason why I say the Aussies love violence thing is because I literally see when I look at a bunch of like Australian combat, old World War II combat photos, I keep seeing the literal Steve Irwin smile on dudes in the middle of combat. So it might not be violence specifically. It might just be that Aussies love living like on the precipice of death or something. And uh, India has also 50-50 kind of acted like they might jump in just a little bit, as they actually showed up only with 4 destroyers, but they did show up to one of the big joint exercises between all the rest of us that I just mentioned, near the Philippines and just south of Taiwan. They actually showed up to one of those exercises recently. So they might be hinting that they'll, for a small part, they might throw in a little bit. Uh, to, I guess, maybe in part to test their naval combat capability, and also kind of just to you do a like big smiley face to say they were there when it happened, I guess. As also it is in their interest as well. China is like the one of the two only real threats they have, although the primary threat they would have from Pakistan is predominantly if Pakistan decided to use nuclear weapons. But conventional military threat of like taking serious harm, India's like only real threat in in their area and in regards to like any of their own geopolitical aspirations is China, as they don't really conflict with anyone, uh, with any with any of the other than China, obviously, with any of the rising powers or falling powers, as India and Russia have been buddies for a while, but Russia's on its way down. So even if something came up, some animosity developed between them, it's not like India would really have to worry about that. Iran is crumbling. Saudi Arabia is a fake regional power. Their power is just money. Their military in combat has repeatedly proven to not really work out. They have an interesting history, with the exception of like one tank battalion from both Gulf Wars that did really well. Uh, Decent chunks of their military have had a bad history of kind of not committing and some sort of just withdrawing from combat when the combat got too intense. Turkey and India are like ambivalent towards each other, but also they're like neither friend nor foe, but none of their aspirations conflict with each other in any way. India has kind of like a bit of a lingering resentment towards the UK, obviously, but the UK is sort of withering and dying anyways, and doesn't really exert that much global influence anymore. And with us, we don't have any real conflicting interests with India. As I've said before, the the don't make the buffering symbol at me. Stop it. Stop. Stop. All right, whatever. The U.S. political apparatus's main interest is just in maintaining the system. The system, just meaning the post World War II established like global uh, international trade and travel network, the world that we have grown up in and come to know. And India doesn't have any real intents of disrupting or destroying said system. They just want to economically rise to uh, become a prosperous nation within said system. Whereas like Russia and China want to heavily disrupt and rearrange that system. But India does not really want to do any such thing. So we have so underlying real politics wise, we have, regardless of what any one administration of either country says from one election to the next, we have no real, like, actual conflicting interests with India. Okay. So that was the way off, that was the way off tangent that started from the Venezuela stuff. The blockade has been instituted, and probably Pentagon is just waiting for Venezuela to either try running it or hoping that Venezuela will try actually try actually striking at a U.S. vessel that can then be used as a trigger incident to begin an actual like mass airstrike campaign across the country. Oh, and uh, one other thing I just randomly remembered: Chile. Man, you guys are doing awesome. Can I draw a like mock smile face on how you do a mock smile face? That's not really a mock smile, but that's the best I can get. So Chile went from uh, their in their previous election, they elected like a super green guy who was like no mining, no more mining ever, and with the exception of two, has shot down every mining contract renewal proposition and every new mining license. And Chile's copper mining output has gone from 6 million tons per year down to under five, down towards like 4.5. Now, in exchange for that guy, they have elected uh, the son of a former SS officer. And that's not even hyperbole. Like he was an actual SS officer who fled to Chile post World War II and uh, got got a chick pregnant when he was like 70 or whatever, and she gave birth to this dude, and has spent he's spent his time like not hiling uh, who you would think, but he has been hiling Chile's former dictator Pinochet. So, and constantly whitewashing him about, he was actually the best. He was actually a really sweet humanitarian dude. Never mind the tens of thousands of people summarily executed or disappeared in Blackback. So Chile's like on a seesaw and is just jumping from one end of the seesaw on actually oops sorry that'll be the other way, jumping from one end of the seesaw onto the other end of the seesaw. And let's see, I think there were a few other things I wanted to mention, but I can't recall them right at the moment. I don't think there was anything in Europe. I feel like there was some other stuff in the Middle East that I'm forgetting about. That I stuff that fits in the realm of things I would want to bring up at least. What was it? I can't remember. No, it's not coming back. Let me check chat like a responsible person. Did, wait, the person who deleted their message literally just said yo and then deleted their message. Okay, that's interesting. Uh Ethiopia, I don't know. I have no idea on like a timetable of when Ethiopia intends to try to do anything, because they're also being indecisive. They've also dropped equal threats that make it sound like they want to invade Somalia instead. So flip a coin and take your pick as for like what their big last hurrah YOLO moment is going to be. I don't know which one they're going to pick. But also, if they do go for Eritrea, remember you have Tigray here, you have Afar here, and you have Amara here. The uh, the three northwestern minority ethnic groups that the Ethiopian government would love to get rid of. And I mean, they already killed 2 million Tigrayans between 2020 and 2022. Although again, they they don't even deny this via starvation primarily and deprivation of medical supplies. They don't even deny doing that. The like excuse they make for it is just that hold on, I'm about to sneeze. The excuse they make is that they didn't actually kill 2 million. They only killed 600,000. So therefore it doesn't count as genocide. But they also have been constantly bombing the Amara region here and have now been blockading medical supplies across this region, trying to kill off a few million people in here, probably. So, to get to Eritrea, they would have to move military forces through these three regions, which these three regions, probably would not say yes to, because even if it is only Ethiopia's intention to invade Eritrea, those three minority groups, they would not take that chance willingly. That the government might just be coming in to try to like do another round of extermination. So that would result in mass fights and civil war with those groups along the way. So because of that, actually, there's also it might be slightly more like 51 to 49 instead of a flat 50-50. It might actually lean slightly closer to them going the Somalia direction, or at least going for the Somaliland portion. And since Somaliland has a smaller population and smaller scale of armed forces, and they might do that banking on or hoping on the political division, resulting in Somalia, the rest of Somalia not coming to help Somaliland because of the political division between the two. But they could just YOLO it and go for Eritrea anyways, and not care about any of the fights they have to get along with minor ethnic groups along the way. But they've started. Uh, they kind of sealed the path they're going down by starting the Tigray genocide stuff back in 2020, and eventually, in the coming decades, Ethiopia is going to most likely end up as just this here, which this was the original Ethiopia. Uh, Ethiopia frequently, as it's been seen in historical maps, was called the Ethiopian Empire for a reason. That's because it was an empire. It conquered the Amhara region, the Tigray people, the Afar people, portions of Somalia over here, and across different time periods, what was Eritrea, Djibouti. At other time periods, it held parts of South Sudan and South Sudan. So the present Ethiopia is still a lingering remnant of the last portions of the Ethiopian Empire, and remnant imperial portions can of former empires can still coalesce into the modern day and function as like unified countries if they choose to do so. However, if the government of said country starts pointing out and even referring to the former captive nations as separate entities and problems that are causing the problems for the rest of the country, or as the governments will often refer to it, causing problems for the real citizens of the country, then you start to see stuff fracture. Let me chug some more water. And the government of Mali does this too before the actual civil war started. Uh, the different governments of Mali, because they have a coup every 2 years and keep changing leaders, but every one of them does the same thing and will constantly blame the Tuareg people up here, the ones in the north that are native to the arid Sahel region and the Sahara. They'll constantly keep blaming the Tuareg people for like the country's problems, which does not really help at like trying to unify a country that's made out of two like distinct blocks that doesn't it doesn't tend to work out well. I mean, in Sudan, the same thing would constantly be happening in Sudan previously when it was a single country, and now there's two Sudans. All right, what else did we get from anybody? Thank you, Ethan. They the U.S. already did seize an oil tanker. The blockade is what just started as of this morning, I believe. So that is, as I said, that is almost certainly it's the bigger of the it's the bigger of the options to try out and hope it triggers Venezuela to actually try something. I don't know. I would assume probably only maybe a few more months in terms of like a waiting time for how long like the Pentagon will be willing to wait before just taking action anyways, as it would be publicly beneficial to to goad Venezuela into doing something first and then frame this as a reaction to that. But even if they don't, this is still happening anyways. But time frame wise, I can't say for certain, but I would assume like maybe they're willing to wait a few more months at most, hoping Venezuela will do something first. But since whenever China invades Taiwan, it has to be in the fall, they will most likely not want to wait too long into next year in case next year is when China decides to do it, so that they can have a few spare months in between, say, spring of next year, if we wait that long in so that they can have the U.S. military can have a few spare months in between spring of next year and fall of next year, if next year looks like when China decides to do it, so that we'll have a few spare months to move stuff over to the Pacific and get ready after dealing with this, because this won't take too much effort, as we're not actually doing an invasion this time. And also, unlike Iraq, Venezuela doesn't have a real military, in quotation marks, to actually have to bowl over in the first place. Their predominant, or like Venezuela's military budget is less than $1 billion, and most of that goes into funding ski mask wearing black bag squads that abduct and disappear people who oppose Maduro or previously who opposed Chavez. So probably there is some patience, but not like indefinite patience. So they might be waiting. They might be willing to wait another couple of months for Venezuela to do something first. But if not, uh, we will eventually just do it. The Shia LaBeouf meme will eventually become real. Are these synced? Yeah, I saw that. I did see that floating around Twitter, the cursed app earlier. Uh, I could not find a like supposed origin point of that, so I don't know how much I put into that. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. I still feel like I'm forgetting one other thing though, but I'm going to likely end it here anyways. So I'll wait like another minute or so in case any other comments or super chats or anything like that show up. But otherwise, after that, I'm going to end it. But I'll spend that one spare minute trying to see if I can reignite my brain, remember what I'm forgetting. Let's see. No, there's nothing down there. Is anything down here? Oh, yeah, that was it. Apart from silver prices heading upwards, platinum prices have spiked as well. Let's look to, we have to go to more, then down here. So platinum is closing in on $2,000. Nominally, the highest it ever was, I think, was about 2050, and adjusted for inflation, the highest it ever was during the 1980 price spike, which would come out to about like 2,500 in current dollars. But platinum's going up because of surging demand from a number of factors. For one, the mad, the similar to similar but much smaller and kind of quieter, but still similar to a bubble that's going to go nowhere, just like AI. There is also a hydrogen economy bubble, where energy investors are throwing money at giant like seawater desalination slash then electrolysis projects to try to gamble on the whole hydrogen economy thing of like instead of liquid fuel uncompressed at room temperature, or instead of a pack of batteries, we're gonna run everything on these super these super tight, need to be reinforced with 5 layers, canisters of hydrogen that's pressurized at 700 atmospheres of pressure, because that's what you have to do to get that much hydrogen into a canister to power a vehicle for the same range as a tank of gasoline. Some people are throwing their money away at that, and those electrolysis machines, those hydrogen membranes and stuff, they require quite a lot of platinum. And also, now platinum is also used, not as much as gold and silver, but it is used in computers. And now with the stupid AI bubble and everyone investing billions into AI data centers, into products that make no money, that are, not even just me saying such, the companies themselves even admit that they're losing money to the tunes of tens of billions. But whatever. Everyone's just on drugs and is having YOLO moments. Uh, I guess everyone's in one of those Y2K end of the world mentalities right now. So all these super AI data centers are being built, which is causing excess demand for computer parts, especially RAM. If you've seen what happened to RAM prices recently, and it's causing upsurges in precious metal prices, along with all the other things that were. And also, that includes platinum. Platinum is also used in computers, just nowhere near as much as silver and gold is. But there's also way less platinum on Earth than there is gold and silver. So that is having its effect, along with the source of roughly still 60% of the world's platinum supply. South Africa has been seeing one mine shut down after another, as apart from, you guys are familiar with their power grid utterly constantly failing on itself and becoming dilapidated, and they essentially have or precious metal, basically cartels in the country, you might as well call them, who are constantly raiding transformers, ripping out copper. Their railways are failing because these same groups raid the monitoring stations and the switchboards and rip the computer parts out of them to hustle the platinum metal, the precious metals and platinum group metals. And now also they're they're finding that there's quite an oh yeah, and their water distribution system has been failing because uh, government corruption and money redistributing to politicians' bank accounts has caused like zero reinvestment in water pipeline infrastructure. Well, similar stuff has been happening even to the private industries, and apart from supply disruptions from all the theft stuff, there's now problems of money disappearing there and not being used to buy additional like replacement parts and mining equipment. So they're starting to have issues continuing operations at a number of the platinum mines, which, is one of the country's main sources of revenue. So as that goes down, that then is going to compound all the other issues that are only made worse by the fact that all the government members are constantly just siphoning the money for themselves. And so as the amount of money coming in gets worse or gets lower, the the amount or the fracture, the portion, the percentage of the remaining government budget that's being taken by the politicians is only going to get bigger and bigger as the amount the government has to work with to begin with continues to shrink. So all those various factors are compounding to now push platinum prices racing up towards a record. But silver is now past even where it would have been fine staying. It would have been okay for it to be in the 50s. In terms of spurring additional resource acquisition and mining operations future wise, it's not bad for it to be up this high, but this is technically higher than it needs to be. But, it will end up being good in the long run. But I remember, I do remember making that video like 2 years ago when silver was had that random drop after so slowly climbing from 14 up to 22 and then just randomly dropped to 14 again out of nowhere for no explicable reason. I made that one video like 2 years back where I was like, you might never see silver prices this low again. And now we're finally where we were expecting to be, where we should have been a while ago. As of now, around $66 an ounce for silver, and platinum is heading towards 2000. Okay, that that is going to be the end of it. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So now here's the final minute where I'll wait around to see if anything else shows up. Let me drink some water. Ugh. Oh, well, never mind. Josh is heading out already. I'm on my own if anybody tries to do anything. Thank you, Josh, for the pile of German chocolate you gave me earlier. See, this is why everybody who doesn't know about the Patreon slash uh, PayPal slash YouTube super button donation map, this is why Josh gets the largest placeholder. So for Patreon members slash anyone who does YouTube donation buttons or PayPal stuff, for the one-time stuff, I've divided by 12 to equal what it would be equivalent to on the monthly Patreon member tier list. And whatever the amount comes out to, it gets you a spot on the oil exporters map, which if it ever filled up, we would have to move to the natural gas exporters map. But the largest contributors get big players like Russia and Saudi Arabia. And Josh gets Saudi Arabia, the largest one, because apart from the $5 monthly on Patreon, Josh also uh, constantly dumps off like $50 worth of German chocolate on me every now and then. So he kind of exceeds the ranking a little bit. So there is some nepotism here by all means, but in a rare case, it's actually earned, warranted nepotism. What are you making that face for? What are you making that face for? Do you not want to be Saudi Arabia? Do you want to be someone else? If you want to be someone else, someone like lower on the exporter ranking, I can shift you. Just tell me if you want to be somebody else. And by all means, I understand not wanting to be represented uh, by Bonesaw Nation. What the world market? I mean, I don't. I stopped trusting them with it anyways. You can get Rittersport at Harris Teeter, and you can get it at apparently the commissary at the Air Force Base. My parents specified that because they go to both. They said that only the Air Force Base one has it, and sometimes Lidl will, but it will have it in Lidl will have it in a special display case in like a random part of the store, not in the candy aisle. Like when I saw it in Lidl the last time a couple weeks ago, it was in like a display, a special display stand up over among like their Christmas supplies instead of out instead of along like the candy aisle. And then a different time it was in that display stand, but the stand was like near the meat and milk section. So it also is occasionally at Lidl, but they put it in like completely random parts of the store that are not intuitive. When I myself get Rittersport, I primarily just order a bulk shipment off of Amazon. It's the easiest way. Right. Nothing else other than Josh, who's apparently usurped everyone and elevated himself to a number one on the crown icon. Well, I'll see everybody else next time then. Oops, wait, I think I have to do this one first.